So tell me, why is HR so important in our lives right now?
I think right now we're seeing a shift in our culture. I believe it started with millennials and just ultimately not being happy or feeling, they didn't have a purpose in their work, or maybe employers weren't necessarily treating them right. And then I think from there we saw a huge boost in self-employment and in freelancing. And so now we have a new generation, Gen Z, who really want to know how you're doing things, how you're creating these products, what your mission is, how you're contributing to society. And I think all of that plays into HR. I think HR has not the greatest reputation, I think, with companies. People view HR as the opposite of human, a little bit inhumane, very cold, pretty black and white, unemotional. And I think that we're seeing a transition now to where HR is going to play a key role in ultimately growing businesses and helping them with longitudinal success because of the culture that we're in right now.
And for everybody tuning in, that's Katrina Ghazarian. And if you want to search her on social media, you spell that Ghazarian. And check out her sites, her company that she will be talking about, Eva8.com. That's Eva, EVA, the number 8.com. And her social media pages, the Facebook, the Instagram, they are there on the site. You can scroll down, check them out. But you mentioned a topic that I love, and I don't think I've ever really had the opportunity to talk about it too much, but since you brought it up, we're going in. Why are we millennials so delicate? Why are we so sensitive?
I think millennials was the start of, I would say, we were calling people out, right? I think that with the millennials, I'm 32, so I would say internet really came into play with dial-up maybe when I was 10, so a little over 20 years ago. And so now everybody's talking about everything. And so this generation, millennials, we're starting to compare our experiences with what other people's experiences are. And so with people speaking out more and giving more details about their life, whether it's personal or professional, we're looking at our own lives and saying, hold on a second, I too, #me too, am going through these things as well, and they are being perceived as not right. Or, hey, I'm not getting these same privileges that these people are getting that they're talking about. And so I think we have this shift of not only has, say the female role in families changed with females moms are now working more than our previous generation, but now employers and culture have to catch up with all of those trends, such as certain types of leave, certain types of flexibility so we can care for our children and so forth. So I don't know if it's that millennials are sensitive. We're definitely entitled. I will say that, and I will say that confidently. But I think it's more, we're just seeing more comparison. I think that if we had the same type of technology culture that we did 20 years ago, we wouldn't be where we are today, in my opinion.
Do you think it's going to make it harder for us as we get older because we feel so entitled, and a lot of us are, and that like if things aren't going to go our ways and, if our parents aren't there and stuff, do you think it's going to make it a harder life for a lot of us? Do you think there's going to be a new level of complaining?
No, I don't actually. I think that, like I said, with the new Generation Z, I think that employers are going to be held more accountable to how they're doing things and what their purpose is and how they're contributing. However, we're also seeing an increase in available resources in order to meet those objectives. So I don't think we'll necessarily hit a higher level of whining and complaining. We're actually, with some influencers or company owners, we're seeing even more of a little bit of a regression where we have a lot of people taking a stance on those that are entitled. And, we're having people who are also millennials kind of on the other side of the spectrum saying, no, you still have to work hard to get to where you're going.
Exactly.
So yeah, I don't think we'll hit another level. I think that as our complaining has shifted, so has the available resources.
And you mentioned there's a shift that more and more companies are putting more money into HR for reasons like this. Is that kind of how Eva8 came about? Like, can you tell us more about this backstory of how you jumped into this entrepreneurial world?
Yeah, I don't have this story that you often hear about entrepreneurs of I hated my job and I needed to get out of there. I was actually doing HR already. I think for me, it was my personal circumstances. I was a single mom. My daughter was 2 years old. And by the time I was getting out of work or leaving the office and picking her up and taking her home, I really only had time to bathe her, feed her, and put her to bed. So I felt like there wasn't much, I wasn't connecting with her the way I had wanted to. And so it really came down to just having more flexibility in my schedule. So I approached, my employers at the time, and I let them know, hey, can I come in earlier, like 6 a.m., so I can leave earlier and pick her up and kind of have my time with her. And they felt that it was necessary for me to be on site. And for that reason, as time went on, I still continued to evolve in my own development. I felt it was an appropriate time for me to step away and move toward more of an independent consultant role. So I put in my 30 days resignation, and, I didn't want to leave them in any type of predicaments without me being there. I held a lot of the intellectual property, I would say, in that company. I did all of the hiring, all of the recruiting. I was the only senior manager in the entire company at that time. And so I wanted to make sure they were going to be okay when I left. And so I would say about a week before my resignation was up, they took me into the conference room. I thought they were going to offer me more money, but they basically told me, we want to be your client.
What?
So I ended up leaving with a full book of business, basically. Yeah. So there's no really rags to riches story.
That is pretty badass.
Yeah. So I would say when we talk about entitlement, I worked really hard from day one until the very last day. And I believe that's why, they felt they wanted to keep me on board in whatever capacity I was willing to accept for them.
That makes so much sense. And wow, I can't believe more people don't do this, because they're still paying, like they're paying you a salary, but now they're just paying it out to the business, right? In a sense.
Right. I mean, I took so much pride in my work. I built out that entire corporate team. And then this particular group of founders have other companies. And so I was helping them recruit for those companies as well. And actually, when I left, they gave me all of the companies. So it wasn't just the one I was working for directly. Awesome. I was doing HR for all of them, which were about 4 different entities at the time. So I think I saw something there. I definitely saw the value of being able to recruit effectively and knowing how to bring on good members for a team. Also, what processes and procedures should look like, and building out how quickly a company can scale when you have these processes and procedures in place. And I'll give you an example. One of their companies had 1 location. It's a fast casual concept. There's actually 2 in Chicago right now.
What is it called?
They started in
fast casual.
Pokework. No, it's a fast.
The food place, Poke.
Yes, yeah. So
Pokeworks.
Works.
I don't think I had that one.
They have 2 locations. They have one on Lake Street in Chicago, and they have one on Madison.
When I used to work downtown, this place has been around for at least a couple of years, right?
I believe so. I think they're going on maybe 2 years. this
Yep,
year for
100%.
those locations.
It opened up about 2 years ago, and I
Yes.
went there one time or a couple times for lunch when I used to work downtown, I think.
Yes. So they had
100%.
their first location in New York City. And, you know, at that time they were scaling. They had a Facebook video go viral. And so they wanted to open up a bunch of locations. And so I, you know, came on and I explained to them, let's put these processes in place. We need a recruiting process. We need an onboarding process. We need to make sure we have an interview process. And so that way everybody's getting the same experience. And so from that time, when they had their first location in December of 2015, and fast forward to today, they have over 50 locations, and they have about 150 locations signed on. So I knew even back then how important it was to make sure that these processes were in place. However, if I wasn't there, none of these owners want to do HR. So they wouldn't have done this. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because they don't like it. Not most entrepreneurs don't like HR whatsoever.
It's not fun.
It's not for them. It's fun for me. So I felt like I needed to speak up more and make a difference in all of these, in whatever company was out there, a brand that I really enjoyed, a brand that I believed in. This was the way I felt I was going to help contribute.
So what makes Eva8 different from the traditional HR companies that are out there right now, like the big names?
So the big name HR companies, I would say, are more technology based. So they're going to give you the system that you need to use in terms of storing employee files and a handbook builder and things like that. I believe Eva8 is more human based. And so we take every situation and we really try to think of the best possible case. And we really are on the employer side. You know, and by being on the employer side and caring about their company, we indirectly are on the employee side as well, because we're ensuring that they have a healthy and safe place to work every single day. And so I think with Eva8, you know, we really come in and we customize everything from what their organizational chart should look like, their pay ranges, their benefits and compensation packages, their compliance. I mean, we look at everything, and we really look at every company with the sense of, if this company were to go out in the market and try to sell itself today, how desirable is this company going to look to buyers? And that is really what our goal is.
Got it. So, and then do you deal with companies all over the US, it sounds like?
Yeah, so we are nationwide.
Got it. So how would you, and all types of industries as well, or?
All industries. I mean, I can tell you we're not as popular in, say, the real estate industry, just because most of their most of their operators are 1099. So not a lot of employees in those specific industries. But yeah, aside from real estate and maybe even the medical industry, I would say that we can thrive in any industry, any other industry.
Awesome. And I guess, is it to a point where you're more involved, is what you're saying, right? Compared to these other bigger companies, right? It's not as automated.
We are heavily involved. We call it high touch consulting. And so anything that is, we ingrain ourselves so much that we are literally the HR department on their organizational chart. So if even though they have HR, a lot of our clients have HR managers, but in some situations, you know, the HR is the last department that companies build out, right? And so it's like they have sales, and then you have marketing, and then you have accounting, and then you have operations, and then you're like, wow, we have 100 employees. We should maybe have one HR person, right?
Yeah.
And that's just not sustainable. That one HR person is just doing transactional things, onboarding, offboarding, write-up, payroll, you know, very transactional. It's really hard for that person to come up above everything and put in some strategies, right? Why is our turnover so high? why are our employees ineffective? Why, they're not really able to do these things because they're short-staffed and their whole schedule is taken up with paperwork.
So tell me, why Eva8? I'm sure you got this question.
I really wish that I had a compelling story about this, but when we were looking on the trademark database, we tried every name that we could think of, every name. And then one of my capital partners, he was like, hey, I bought this domain like 10 years ago. It's only 4 letters.
Wow.
It's only 4 characters. It's pretty easy. And it was Eva8.com. And I was like, no, because his wife's name is Eva. And I'm like, we are not naming this company after your wife.
Little did you know, here we are.
Yeah. And so he was like, no, I bought it before I even met her. And I was like, that's interesting.
It's a little
but, we looked for anything and we couldn't find anything that was even everybody's a consultant, right? Every name is taken up with consulting at the end. So I just kind of did it. I mean, I tell a lot of people Eva, means life and 8 means prosperity, but that's a bullshit reason. I mean, that's not the real story.
Do they really mean those things, or did you give the meaning to them? Yeah?
No, they do. Yeah, they do.
Sweet. No, it's actually kind of cool because it makes you think. At the end of the day, you're like, Eva8, like, what does this mean? And you're compelled to look at it, and then you do have a very catchy site, you got catchy colors. So it's like, you're not just like, oh, hey, I'm Mr. HR, Mrs. HR. Like, I'm Eva8.
Yeah, I mean, I realized it doesn't matter what our name was. Our mission was far more important.
Exactly. And did you know HR was going to be your thing? Did you wake up one day and like when you were 5 years old growing up and you're like, HR, like that's life. Did you know?
Absolutely,
or was there a time?
Not. Okay. Absolutely not. My dream growing up was to be the first female head coach in the NBA. That was my dream. And so I coached high school girls basketball for several seasons. And then I went on to officiate high school and college basketball for several seasons. And then I got into recruiting. I was working for a third-party staffing agency. I was really good at it. And then one of my clients, ended up poaching me, I guess you can say. They had a position open. They really wanted me to fill that position. And it was an office manager position with HR duties and payroll duties. And so I took that on. And then I really flourished in the HR perspective. I think coaching really helped because I was coaching 15 teenage girls at any given time. And so, having to get them to buy into my philosophies and then also have to communicate with them in different ways because of all of the personalities they have. I think that really helped me understand how to manage, a large group of people. And then being an official or, a basketball official, you get really used to not being liked and you have a thick skin. And so when I came into being an office manager, nothing bothered me. I mean, if people were raising their voice, I just wasn't bothered. I just, always met them at a level 5, and I was like, hey, let's go talk about this. And
what does that mean, level 5?
I think emotionally, right? Emotionally, someone will come at you at like a level 8. If they're upset, like a tone.
Got it.
A tone. So if they're upset, they'll come at you at like a level 8, and not necessarily upset with you, but just upset, right, with somebody or something. And so I always really tried to meet them at a 5, at a more calm temperament, and I think that helped diffuse a lot of situations. And so I think I really pushed the envelope of the theory that you can't be liked and respected. I think that was something I was able to accomplish. And so I kind of, saw my calling with employee management and showing employers This is how you need to lead people. This is how you should put in processes and procedures so everybody feels like they're being treated fairly.
See, there is a story. Maybe it wasn't the entrepreneurial right away, but there was a good story there, like for sure.
Well,
And
I wasn't sleeping on any couches making 50 cents a day, right?
okay.
That seems to be the story.
It's okay. I mean, it sounds like, coach a team of 50, you said they were 15-year-old?
Yeah, there were high school girls at
Okay.
the time when I was coaching.
So pretty much what I'm getting is that if I can coach a group of high school girls and get them to conform, I could pretty much do anything.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, that in itself is an accomplishment. I mean, sometimes they are crying for no reason, and then they're mad, and then they're happy. And so I just had to stick to what the mission was. Again, going back to that, and the mission was to make them better athletes and have a winning record. So,
what would you tell like nowadays to someone like me that was miserable in their cubicle just a few years back, and I got, very, very depressed and suicidal and had to, get treatment, and just a lot went on because I was going to push that route. Would you recommend this life of entrepreneurism to people, or would you steer clear?
So I definitely think, I mean, your entrepreneurship and then your own personal, mental health they're not mutually exclusive. I think that in order to thrive in any environment, you have to be mentally okay. I think that if you're feeling suicidal or if you're feeling depressed, I don't think it's your job. I think there's more to it than that. I don't think that a job in itself makes you feel that way. And so I would first attack the personal side, and I would explain to you, hey, it doesn't matter if you're making $1 million, you're still going to feel this way because the problem is in you. It has nothing to do with your environment. So I would focus on that first. And I think through that discovery, you would figure out, where do I want to spend my time? Where do I feel like I can make the most contribution? And then at that point, we would have a discussion and decide, is it here or is it something else that you want to do?
Got it. So kind of focus on yourself first. Make sure you're thinking straight. Right? That's definitely what I did. I guess I didn't really think about it too much that way. But like subconsciously, I went through different methods of healing myself. I went on like this life-changing journey all alone, like a trip all alone. So things definitely did happen. It didn't happen overnight. You're totally right.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that I don't have a personal, social media. Yeah. And I actually deleted my personal accounts last week just to take a stance on these types of theories that I have, that I'm sure a lot of people share with me as well, in that, we're putting so much blame in our environment of why we feel a certain way, but it's really just we're comparing ourselves to things that aren't realistic. They're not real. And so I think that one of the things I'm trying to prove, which is out there, is you have to have a personal brand in order to have a successful business. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that I have to go and curate my own life, right, in terms of social media and act like I have everything figured out all the time and I have the best filters and I'm having the time of my life. I don't feel like I need that in order to grow my business. I almost feel like I'm swindling people, because I don't have it all figured out. I don't think anybody does. And so I really am trying to push back on that and say that you don't need a personal brand to have a successful business. In fact, you don't really need an online social media presence if you don't have a digital product.
So everybody, I'm hearing the opposite. So that's why this is so astonishing to me. Like people are telling me your personal brand's going to outgrow your business. It's always going to be there no matter what. It's like personal. I go to a lot of these networking events and conferences, and everybody is pushing that so much nowadays.
Well, that's what they want you to pay for, right? I went on this rant the day before I deleted my social media. I went on this rant of like, why do we insist on overcomplicating everything? We overcomplicate everything. And I'm trying to get people to understand. And I'll give you an example, like the keto diet and counting your macros and personal branding and curating your timeline. And why are we overcomplicating everything? And the reason is because there are people out there who want your money so they can help solve these problems, right? They're pushing these complicated theories just so they have a business, right? You have online courses that you can buy now in every type of, I mean, any topic, right? You can literally go on and buy a course for it. But you can also Google a lot of that information for free. So I definitely feel like we are, like, people overcomplicate things in general. And just like digital marketing, you know, you have to grow your social media, grow it, but you're not even selling a product on there. So why do you have to grow it? Again, the keto diet and those complicated, you know, fads. To me, it's like, if you're not even covering the basics of eating a normal diet and exercising regularly, what makes you think that you have the discipline to cut out an entire macro? Like, why are we complicating everything? It's science, right? Just eat less calories than you're putting out and you're going to lose weight. It's science. So I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm sad to see that people are buying into these theories and they're spending money on it over and over and over again because they keep failing at it. You know, they're buying stock photos to add to their social media to make it look like they have and I'm only saying this, Miro, because I've done it all.
Yeah.
So, yes, I've tried the keto diet.
Okay.
I've tried counting my macros. I subscribe to an online site where you could buy stock photos, and they told me you have to post twice a day and you have to use all these hashtags.
At least 3. I'm hearing 3.
My business didn't grow. You know, I didn't get a single client from doing that. I got my clients from the current clients that I'm working with who referred me over. You know what I mean? And so I just feel like we overcomplicate things, I think. And that was something I really found in HR. You know, we want to offer, Omar's gonna get mad at me, but you want to offer like a nap room, right? Or you want to have these company retreats, or you want to bring in, you know, personal trainers, or you want to do all these things, but you're not even really covering the basics. We're overcomplicating things, and we're not really asking employees what they want. Why don't you just ask them what they want? You know, company retreats, I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to spend any more time with my coworkers than I have to. So,
wow. So this is not like what I would expect to hear from someone in HR. I love it.
I think that's what makes Eva8 so different, is we're not just HR, we're business consultants also, right? We understand the numbers behind all of the decisions that we make.
But there are, with social media, just kind of backtrack to that. There's definitely people out there that are, I guess, quote unquote, killing it, right? And they are actually making money, you know, or having an influence. You think it's just like the select few that are, and then everybody else is kind of a sucker in this big game that we're just kind of trying to be like the select few, which are like the stars?
I think that a lot of the influencers, or I would say a lot of, people are on social media who have a really large following today. A lot of them had built a product before. You know, like they had a successful business prior, and then came onto social media, and then kind of, you know, their next step in their career was, you know, mentoring, coaching, podcasts and events and conferences and things like that. I think that there's that group of people, which is, I think, very appropriate for them to be doing. And then you have this other group of people that I feel it's their only way to make any money, right? And so if Instagram died today, what would happen to their business? You know, now the likelihood of that happening, I'm sure, is very extremely low. But, you know, we have instances where Instagram was down for an entire day.
Yep.
And so do you lose a whole, you know, day of business because of that? I just don't know if that is necessarily the smartest route to take. I think that if you want to make true wealth, and if you want to help a lot of people, I think that you can help people by building a company that offers jobs, or that, you know, something where you're contributing positively. I think that on Instagram, we're seeing a lot of entrepreneurs that basically built a business off of helping people build a business, you know, but when you really look deep down into what their history looks like, they've never actually built like a product or a service. That service, you know, large companies are made a long impact. It's just them kind of selling digital courses over and over and over again, and to a different group of people. I don't think they see a lot of return customers.
Yeah, that's a great point. I actually wonder if there's like a study out there about that.
Yeah.
Do you think it's just a matter? You think we're living in a bubble? You think it's a matter of time? Because I mean, there's always new things that come out, right? Like everybody thought MySpace was going to be forever, and you know that crashed and burned. Do you think we're in a bubble, a social media bubble?
Yeah, I do think one of the things I truly believe in is that, you know, we are going to have a recession like we always do, every so often. I mean, the time of the last recession, I was working in financial services, and you know, it took me forever to find a job at that time. Whereas now I can walk down the street and find a job. But I definitely think that what we're going to see is venture capital is going to get a lot more strict in who they're giving money to. I think that we're going to see a decrease in entrepreneurship. I think that a lot of the self-employed or entrepreneurs are going to be coming back to the workplace. Though, you know, those that maybe don't necessarily have a product that companies are going to prioritize. I think that they're going to, I think services are still going to be a necessity, but you have to have the right services. So outsourcing has to still cost less than having something internal. You know what I mean? Because I guess what we can say is the positive thing about contracting or bringing consultants is mainly for companies is that we're not really on the books. We're not in payroll. We don't affect, like if a company's value, like payables basically is where you'll find us. But buyers or valuation companies, they don't really see contractors and payables as a part of their expenses, if that makes any sense, the way payroll is looked at. So I still think that outsourcing is going to be popular, but those people, those companies that offer those outsourcing services, they have to be really lean and they have to be really efficient and make sure that their pricing is still lower than what it would cost to have an internal department.
And you brought up recession, things like that. Are you preparing for that already? Because I know it's been talked about for the past 5 years now, and you know, we're constantly on the edge. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we work as if we're in a recession already. The way we evaluate companies, you know, for example, we come in, we audit companies, we look at their liability and exposure, we look at their recruiting and selection, we look at compensation and benefits, we look at training and development. We really look at them and grade them, measure them basically on the current market in terms of compliance and best practice. And so we will find those inefficiencies for them, and we will present options that are more efficient for them. And then even from a compensation standpoint, we put together an entire compensation analysis with pay ranges, and we will identify certain outliers in those pay ranges. You know, is this person being paid for some arbitrary reason, you know, higher than everybody else? And so we're ensuring equity across the board, not only for their current staff, but for also new staff coming in. And so I think working at that level prepares any company for anything to happen. We're not having them spend any extra money where they don't need to. In fact, we're the opposite. We're coming in and saying, you're spending all this money here, let's just say on benefit A, but no one really cares for it. They don't really use it. So maybe you should be offering benefits B instead, because that's what they want, and that's going to be a lower cost for you. And so we're constantly preparing our clients for anything to happen, layoff, anything that's coming. We provide that type of outlook for them.
Awesome. Well, now we're on to our listeners' favorite segment of the show.
Welcome to the round with no name, because they're all taken.
Okay.
Well, everybody tuning in, Katrina Ghazarian with Eva8.com. That's Eva, EVA, the number 8.com. Be sure to check her out. The social media pages are on the website as well. But the rules of this round, you're going to get 5 seconds to initiate an answer. So we don't want you thinking too much. Just kind of just spit things out there. We're going to get the blood flowing. We're going to get the brain thinking.
Oh, man, this gets me in trouble when I just spit things out. Okay, I can do this.
But otherwise, my producer, Steve Wiley, he comes out and I have to deal with him. He gives me a very hard time. Not you, just me.
Okay.
So I got to make sure I stay on top of you here. Let's go. Hope you're ready. What is your favorite book?
I read a lot of books. I would say the book I'm reading right now has definitely gotten my interest more than any books I've read in a while. It's called Dataclism. It's by Christian Rudder from OkCupid. So it's super interesting. It's basically taking data from dating websites and kind of comparing it to the assumptions that we all make about social norms and social standards and fighting against it based off of the data that he pulled.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I am a sucker for Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon. I love that movie.
I don't know if I ever watched. I know what it is. I've seen the cover. I envision the cover. I don't think I've ever seen it. Got to add it to the list, right?
Yeah.
What is your favorite podcast?
I go back and forth. It really depends on my mood, but I had been listening to the MSCEO project for a while.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, with Andy Frisella. So I listened to that one, and then I'll also, depending on who Tony Robbins has as a guest, I'll listen to those. I don't listen to all of them, just the people I want to hear from.
Well, we got to convince you to tune in here every once in a while.
I mean, Boss to Boss is my favorite.
If you're stranded on an island, and who's to say this could happen any day now? Okay. What is the one item you want with you? Can't be a person.
Cereal.
A huge barrel, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And maybe like milk on tap. That's good. That is a Boss to Boss exclusive, everybody. Cereal. We will be mailing you a big box of cereal.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully our sponsors heard that. We aren't sponsored by any cereal companies, so I'm going to have to do some magic with that one. We'll see.
Okay. If Kix is available.
Kix. All right. We'll mark that one down. Who has been or is your greatest mentor?
I've been asked this question. I don't have one. I have been blessed to have a network of people who have done well for themselves, and I've been able to kind of take what I can from them and maybe throw away things that I don't necessarily believe in or agree with. So there has never been one person really that I've, been a zealot about and just took everything they said. I think I just take bits and pieces of everybody else and make it my own.
That's one way to look at it. How do you drink your coffee?
I usually I have instant coffee, Nescafe, and I just put a little bit of flavored cream in it. That's pretty much it.
I have a bottle of that stuff laying here, not opened. I constantly look at it and I'm like, do I open this instant coffee? And then I just don't. I don't know. I read the reviews and then I just don't. So I'm like, I don't know. Is it that good? You like it?
I think I have more control over the strength of the coffee
Oh,
using
true.
instant coffee. I feel like with
True.
a pot, number one, I'm the only person that drinks coffee in the house. And so, like, the K cups, they're pretty weak, I feel, in my opinion. And so I feel like I could just,
So you just douse it in there.
customize it the way I like. Yeah.
All right, all right. What is the one item you consume every day? Or it could be like something you have on yourself and, on your person, but you need it every single day. You can't go a day without it. Not coffee.
Oh, um, I would say my iWatch, but it's been dead for quite some time.
Wow.
So
And
I'd
you
be
still wear
lying
it?
if I said it. I still wear it. That's how lazy I am.
Hold up. Backtrack. How long has it been dead for?
It's been dead for like a week.
And you don't take it off?
No, I take it off and I put it down as if, it's ready to wear, and I just don't ever charge it. And I
Wow.
put it back on if it matches my outfit. But besides
That's
that,
good.
I
That's
would
good.
say, I don't know, chapstick maybe.
That's actually that's a good one. That is a good one. I will give you in on a little secret. A couple of my like watches that I wear out don't work
Uh-huh.
anymore, but I still wear them.
Everybody does. Yeah, see, everybody has that. It's not just me.
But it's yours actually doesn't even light up. At least they
But no one
they're
would
still
know.
like yeah. Well, the worst is I occasionally get like, oh hey, what time is it? And I'll be like
Hmm.
grabbing my phone.
Yeah. So
That's the worst.
here's why I actually don't mind it not being charged, because it's very distracting. Like if you're in a meeting or
Hmm.
something, or I feel like once it vibrates, you're like constantly looking at it. So I don't know. It's kind of nice not to be distracted, but my wrist still looks really cool.
Is it safe to say you'll not be getting a new one?
I'm not getting a new one. No.
So this was like a hidden, I guess, like in disguise. This was like a blessing, essentially,
Yes.
because you wanted
Hmm.
to get rid of it and it just died on you. So why not?
No, I can charge it. I just
Oh,
don't.
oh, wow. All
It
right.
works.
Do you think there are too many HR regulations out there? Yes or no?
I don't think that there are too many HR regulations out there. However, I do think that public agencies can do a far better job in helping people interpret what the actual regulations are. There's very limited resources out there on, even what is the minimum wage if you have a certain number of
Hmm.
employees, and if you live in this certain metropolitan area. I think in general, public agencies do a very poor job in in, I guess, releasing comprehensive material that a business owner can actually understand. I think that's the issue.
Is entrepreneurism a fad?
Yes.
And you already sort of made that known. Should have known that was the answer.
Yeah.
Last but not least, most importantly and seriously, if we had a serious business meeting and I flew into to LA and I said, I'm going to help you make millions, and I walked in with socks and sandals, how
Hmm.
serious would you take me?
I would take you serious. I don't really look at what the person looks like. I am more focused on the material that they're bringing, what they're saying, what type of data they have to prove what they're saying. I think that goes back to what we were talking about, is that we have all these theories and assumptions, and people
Yep.
are saying all of these things are happening, but they're not really looking at the data. They're not really using data to prove that these things are even happening. So I don't care what you look like. I would just want to know what the data is and how you've helped, say, another client. So I ask for a client case study in almost every single situation like that.
So the reason I had to ask that question is because Omar, our mutual friend, Omar Syed, which shout out to him, by the way, he said he like wouldn't even talk to me. I'm pretty sure something like that.
Yeah,
He was very, very adamant against it. I remember
he has to say that, right? I mean, that's his
to the
company.
point where he
That's
mailed me socks, better
Yeah,
looking
I have
socks,
socks too. Yeah, he gave me socks too. I mean, I asked
which
him.
were awesome,
I
by
was
the way.
Yeah, I asked him like, hey, do you have any short sleeve shirts? And he gave me like the craziest side eye I have ever seen. He's like, oh, do you want some cargo pants too? I mean, that's his company. That's
They got
his
some good
branding
stuff.
though,
They do
you
have
know? So
interesting things. Yeah, I love it. Well, you
yeah.
survived. I survived. I did not have to deal with my producer at all. So
Okay.
thank you. Thank you. And thank you for being on the
My
show. It's
pleasure.
truly been a pleasure. It's been fun. I'm excited to see where Eva8 goes next, and
Hmm.
where you will be in a year or so. Next time we could maybe reconnect, do something again. But the mic is yours here at the very end. If you have any closing thoughts or anything you wanted to clear up, mic is yours.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm not here to be polarizing as it pertains to entrepreneurs and things like that. But when we talk about it being a fad, for example, you have entrepreneurs who are saying things like leave your corporate job behind. And really the conversation is starting to be that being an employee is almost something shameful. And I think that really bothers me. Because number one, we still have a lot of employees. Number two, how are you going to grow a business if you don't have people to help you grow it?
Oh yeah.
And so I just feel that the reason why I feel entrepreneurship is a fad is because I don't think that people really understand what it takes to build a business. I think that they assume it's glamorous and that you get to do all these things because of what they see on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
But Instagram is not teaching entrepreneurs how to do HR. They're not teaching entrepreneurs how to have, a healthy company culture, how to get their employees to be productive, how to, make sure that they're happy. They just know how to market like it's a great place to work, but they don't know how to actually be a great place to work. And that's why I'm really concerned about, entrepreneurs that I meet, because I feel like, you're displaying yourself a certain way on social media. Don't you think that's going to piss your employees off? Why would anybody want to work for you if you're literally telling everyone else to leave their corporate job behind? It just doesn't make any sense. So I don't I think that entrepreneurs need a lot of education. I think that they need to truly understand, how to be humble, how to motivate a team, how to get everybody to buy into their philosophy. And I think that's what HR is. HR is not just terminations and onboarding and recruiting. HR is actually being able to build that bridge between the CEO and the rest of the staff. And I think that it's a pretty underrated department. And so, that's kind of been my entire motivation with starting Eva8.
And it's what you mentioned. I love it all, and I fully support it. So I talk a lot about these things on my show, and it's
Mm-hmm.
something I kind of preach a lot about. So I'm at the other side of things a lot, but I agree that there have to be employees. There always have to be people that just don't thrive at being entrepreneurs and running businesses. But at the end of the day, I think it's such a critical experience and such a
Mm-hmm.
great, skill just to kind of try to develop and see what it's like. Because so many people come up to me, and the reason I keep doing it is because they ask me and they talk to me about it, and they say, "I wish I could have done it. I wish I could have done it when I was younger. I now I have a family, a mortgage, kids, a car payments, you name it, and I'll never know what it was like." Even though it's not easy, and I tell a lot of people, it's good and it's bad. I just still think it's something people should at least give it a try, because I get a lot of people that ask me that they regret not trying it.
It has to make sense. I think that some people say they regret not trying it because they don't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
They say they regret not trying it because they don't fully understand what it would have meant in order to do it. I don't think that everybody is built to be an entrepreneur, and I'll give you an
Fully agree.
example.
Fully agree.
Without my team, I am self-employed. With my team, I'm the CEO of a company. I can grow with my team. And I don't think, even with my current team, although they are very creative and highly skilled, I don't know necessarily if they would enjoy being an entrepreneur or a business owner. I think that they do really well at what they're doing, and they're really happy doing it. I don't think it's for everyone. And I think we should stop pushing that on everybody. I think that what we want to do is we want to get these companies to talk more about their mission and their contributions. And we want to align those people with those with the entrepreneurial spirit who want to help with that same mission, if that makes any sense. You can have your entrepreneurial spirit and you can use those tools that you have being an employee as well. And I think that that's kind of the gap that we're missing right now. I think that people don't fully understand that. Being an entrepreneur, I just don't think it's made for everyone, just like I'm not made to do certain things, maybe not necessarily made, but I don't want to do them. I'm not going to be good at them because I don't enjoy doing them, So I think that there are some people who are built for that, and there's just some people that aren't, and that's okay. It doesn't make you anything less. It doesn't make you less successful. It doesn't make you any better than me or you or Danny Meyer of Shake Shack or Jeff Bezos of. It doesn't make you any different. They all got problems, So I just think you should do what you want to do.
And I guess what I was stressing for me, I do talk a lot about, leaving the corporate world and that sort of lifestyle, but it's not for everybody. At the end of the day, you could be the most badass entrepreneur in your company. You could just, that could be your role. That could be what you thrive on and you love to do. So I definitely try not to come off that way.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing, Meryl. If you're an employee, not you, but any of your listeners, if you're an employee and you actually really like what the company is about, you like the mission, but maybe you're not happy with a couple of things that are going on. Maybe you feel there's unfair treatment or whatever that is. You have an opportunity to make a difference there. You don't have to leave your company to make a difference. You can make a difference there. You make a difference by speaking up. You make a difference by bringing someone like me on. You make a difference by, holding meetings and suggesting surveys. Like, you can make a difference where you are. You don't have to leave, and you can be very happy where you are.
And something new I started doing at my company, I hold individual meetings with people now. It's more of a blue collar labor force that we have, because it's a lot of like moving. So an environmental company, it's a lot of moving, removing stuff at people's homes, and not many companies that I know or that I heard of do that. It's like they hold team meetings, but I've been trying to incorporate individual meetings, like getting individual perspectives, takes, surveys. And it's definitely helped. It's something newer I've done, but it's definitely helped. And I talk about both things. I feel like at the end of the day, I think it's a good medium. Like, you have to be able to make your own judgment. I think what's out there you use, and then you either like it or you don't like it. Just because some people are pushing certain things, whether it's more HR related, whether it's more be this entrepreneur related, I think we all have the choice to make what we want to listen to. And at the end of the day, it comes down to who you are, and you choose to listen to this person or that person, or just be informed. That's
right. Exactly. And that's why I tell people, don't be any type of zealot. Don't follow any one influencer or one person's philosophy, you have to come up with your own philosophy, because what's making them happy doesn't mean it's going to make you happy. Personal branding, for one, I don't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I would write these captions and, they would get great engagement, but then I would read them a week later and I'm like, that's just not me. It doesn't sound like me. I don't talk like that. I'm trying to sound profound, and I don't know if I'm a profound person. And
I'm guilty of that too. I used to post so many damn things because I was told to. I had to do certain posts a day, like you just said. And nowadays, I don't really post that often anymore. Like, I'll release my episodes, I'll do my rants, I'll bash the 9-to-5 life or whatever. But that's just because it's me, and I'm going to share my story. But only what a little bit of it. Like, I don't need, only if it's real. Only if it's real.
Right, exactly. So like something like this is going to get posted on the company social media, right? Like the podcast and things like that.
Not like my business, but like just strictly the podcasting platforms.
Right. Yeah.
Like for sure. Like if you have good content like we have here, you want to make sure it's out there. And
Right. Yeah, because you have something to say, right? And you want to make a difference. And I think that's fine. But I don't know about you. I just feel like, not everybody has the privilege to know what I'm doing in my personal life. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like everyone needs to know what I'm doing, if I'm working out, what I'm eating, or I'm on vacation. I think very select people have that type of privilege to know what I'm doing in real time.
That's an extreme. I feel like, starting to document every little part is an extreme. I don't know. At the end of the day, maybe some people are doing it. Why I initially did it was to be able to look back at it and see how I felt during those times and see how I've grown as an individual through documenting my ways. And I think it's, maybe one day I could share it to someone in my family. Maybe I could, who knows? But that's one way I look at it. All these things are just documentations of footage of things I, wished I saw, maybe how my parents reacted when they were this age, where they were going through some certain struggles. And that would have been so cool to like see how they felt during those times.
Yeah.
That's how
I know.
look at
Doesn't your family I feel like my family is such a mystery because I can't
wouldn't
see
you wish you could look back
like what
and like
happened?
see something?
Yeah.
So like, it's a privilege, but some things you might not ever find out ever otherwise. You don't know how they felt during certain times.
Right.
So that's my 2 cents.
I don't know if I want to know.
Yeah, maybe you don't, but maybe you don't. I don't know. Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming at me, full head of steam and just having so much great knowledge. And you're obviously very passionate about everything you do and everything you talk about. So that's just appreciate you for being you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. We'll be talking soon. Definitely. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Miro.
That is all for this episode of Boss to Boss. Your next step is to visit bosstoboss.com, where you will find proven techniques followed by professionals to help you make that next step. Again, that is boss2boss.com. And remember, the time is now.